plan for the Conservatives, but there's no doubting their views on coalition.
We are campaigning to maximise our position and influence in the Parliament, and you're certainly not going to get me backing anybody else.
The Nationalists attacked Labour's plans for building schools with private finance.
Privatisation by the Labour Party of schools and hospitals around Scotland.
With just one day to go, the Nationalists believe this is an issue which could help close the gap on Labour. Harry Smith, ITN, Falkirk.
In Wales, Labour flew in more support from Westminster in the shape of Chancellor Gordon Brown. His message, don't let Plaid Cymru in through the back door. The Nationalists have been encouraged by an opinion poll which shows them neck and neck with Labour in North Wales. The Conservatives are hoping that concerns about separatism and the Union will bring a last-minute surge for their campaign, while the Liberal Democrat leader in Wales launched himself into Cardiff Bay on a speedboat to show how his party is raring to go. But tonight, in a head-to-head debate between the party leaders in Wales, an opinion poll predicted Labour is on course for a working majority, while Plaid Cymru has leapt ahead of the Tories into second place, with the Liberal Democrats trailing fourth. But all the parties say that opinion polls have been wrong before, and there's still everything to play for. Tim Rogers, ITN, Cardiff.
The speculation surrounding the
Scottish Premier League and Sky Television to abandon the 6:05 kick-off time for live football matches. The Scottish Home Affairs Minister and Strathclyde's Chief Constable both say there should be a review of the timing following the violence before, during and after Sunday's Championship decider at Celtic Park. Meanwhile, Celtic have launched a telephone hotline to encourage fans to tell them about people who caused trouble at the match. Mike Edwards reports.
Recovering slowly at home, 64-year-old Glasgow taxi driver Robert Mearns. After Sunday's game, he stopped at lights when he was approached by four youths, one wearing a Celtic top.
A youth approached me and asked me for my money machine. And I said, what do you want it for? He says, I want that money. And I said, you're not getting it. Just tell me to get lost. He says, well, I'm going to get to your tyre.
After an altercation with the youths, he drove off. He only noticed he'd been stabbed when he stopped to drop off his passenger.
I thought I was getting into a cold sweat, so when I put my hand inside my shirt and I pulled it out, it was saturated with blood, you know.
2 other people were stabbed and many others injured in clashes between rival fans after the game, which saw Rangers clinch the league title. During the match, referee Hugh Dallas was struck by a missile and required treatment. 3 fans ran onto the pitch during a stormy game, which also saw 3 players sent off. Today, Strathclyde's Chief Constable John Orr said he'd like talks to take place to discuss moving games from a 6 p.m. kick-off to prevent fans from drinking heavily ahead of matches, a view shared by the government.
Clearly the 6 o'clock fixture has maybe got to be looked at. Obviously people are having longer to drink. It was good weather, but clearly there was a lot of tension around for what was a very big game for both clubs.
This afternoon, Celtic have announced the creation of a telephone hotline. The club wants fans to phone in with information identifying those responsible for Sunday's trouble.
And we've had some very useful information in terms of names, and we've had seat numbers and reports of people throwing missiles onto the surface. And when we combine that with the closed circuit television reports that we have, hopefully we should be able to identify some of the culprits.
Scottish football fans have in the past been rewarded for their good behaviour. But after Sunday night's events on and off the field, and the recent international against the Czech Republic in which the then captain Gary McAllister was booed, the mood appears to be changing. As a result, the behaviour of Old Firm fans on Cup final day will come under intense scrutiny.
And the number for that special hotline set up for fans to phone with information is 0141 551 4230. The line is open from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's just one full day of campaigning left before Scotland elects its first parliament for 300 years. And the parties are now nervously looking to the outcome. Can any of them gain an overall majority? And how important will the new voting system be in deciding where the balance of power might lie? This report from our political correspondent, Fiona Ross.
On Thursday, voters have 3 votes, 2 for the Scottish Parliament and 1 for the local council. Labour's message on their latest poster is clear, endorsed by Manchester United manager Alex Ferguson. Labour are concerned that voters might vote Labour on the first and SNP on the second, thereby allowing the SNP in by the back door, as Labour put it. Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott was drawing the crowds in Sauchiehall Street today, where it seemed voters had got the message.
A tremendous atmosphere, a real feeling of movement. We believe that we can make this and we can make it handsomely and famously. And then we'll have an agenda in government, which is a social justice agenda.
The SNP hopes are high. The latest polls show that although Labour is still well ahead on the first vote, on the second vote, the Nationalists are closing the gap. It's this split vote that the SNP are relying on.
I know we can close the gap, and I know it because we're putting forward a positive message which is getting a response from the Scottish people. At the end of the day, people vote for something, not against something. They're going to go vote for Scotland's party to run Scotland's Parliament.
The likely outcome of this voting system is a hung Parliament and the possibility of coalition government. The obvious partners are the Liberal Democrats, or as the Tories would have it, a party of no principle who'll do deals with anyone.
Donald Dewar, I think, would be well advised to sup with a very long spoon with the Liberal Democrats. They are a fickle party. 1 minute they're cuddling up to him, the next minute they're cuddling up to the SNP. Let's not forget they're the only other party in this election that is prepared to see Alex Salmond as First Minister of Scotland.
But the Liberal Democrats aren't talking coalition yet.
What do I get when I vote Liberal Democrat? And let me tell you what they're going to get. They're going to get a party committed to investment in health, committed to investment in education, committed to putting police back on our streets and tackling crime, committed to a parliament that puts Scotland first, not Westminster first.
The Scottish Greens are also asking for that all-important second vote. As they see it, a vote for the environment.
I'm Elizabeth Smith. I've known Donald Dewar since he and my husband John became friends at Glasgow University together.
The widow of the late Labour leader John Smith recording one of the last election broadcasts of the campaign. Tomorrow, the last day of campaigning.
Mystery surrounds a complaint to the Dean of the Faculty of Advocates over allegations that a senior Scottish lawyer is to be investigated over racist remarks at an office Christmas party. But the man said to be the butt of the remark says he hasn't complained. He also says he gets on well with Jock Thompson, the lawyer at the centre of the claims. Here's Paddy Christie.
Jock Thompson says he's outraged at the allegations, which came in the form of an anonymous letter sent to members of the press and politicians. It alleged that Mr Thompson racially abused a black coat official at a Christmas function. The black coat official is Mr Des Shanko, but Mr Shanko says there was no offence given and none taken. But Mr Thompson is now the subject of a complaint to the Faculty of Advocates by the Lord Advocate Lord Hardy. He's incensed to be branded a racist.
On the 18th of March, I saw and spoke with the person to whom I made the alleged racist remarks. He said he had made no complaint about me, that he had no intention of doing so, and that he would be happy to clarify matters with the Lord Advocate. This matter arose as the result of a bit of banter made during the course of the Glasgow High Court staff Christmas party. No offence was intended, and more importantly, none was taken. And since this is to be the subject of an investigation, it would be rather inappropriate for me to comment further.
Mr Thompson has been suspended from representing the Crown until his case is dealt with. Insiders say it looks as if the anonymous writer, who was at the party and is therefore likely to work in legal circles, is trying to discredit Mr Thompson for some reason of his or her own.
800 call centre jobs are coming to Greenock after mobile phone company 121 decided to locate a massive new development in the town. It's a much-needed boost for Inverclyde as one of its major employers, National Semiconductor, prepares to close down its electronics plant over the next few months. Our business correspondent Alan Thornby reports.
Mobile phone firms expect enormous growth. 10-year-old 121 says in Scandinavia 50% of the population already own one. Young people are being targeted for many of the services they offer. Already in Finland, the fastest growing part of the market today is among 10-year-olds. Northampton-based 121 will build its new full-sized call centre at the West Cartburn Industrial Estate on the Clyde waterfront at Greenock. Recruitment will start immediately, with the first 50 jobs in place for the launch from a nearby temporary building in August. When the purpose-built structure opens, 50 extra jobs will be added each month over the next 2 years.
It wins out on the communications, the access to the site, in addition to the 80,000 catchment that are for staff in the Greenock area, which is excellent for us. It gives us the ability to recruit the kind of people we want to retain and keep to deliver a world-class customer service for our customers.
Greenock faces the rundown of one of its biggest employers, the National Semiconductor Electronics Plant. Today's call centre jobs, paying from around £11,000 to £14,000 a year, are seen as a massive boost for the area.
Well, I think there's general delight. 800 jobs for an area like this is a considerable number, particularly given the recent troubles in some of the electronics plants locally.
Greenock's good fortune and the 800 jobs rest on a growing trend. Scotland's call centre boom continues, but the effort is on to spread the investment around and find new sites. And in mobile phones, Greenock looks as though with new developments, it's set for even more growth.
British Nuclear Fuels has received an official warning after an inquiry into Chapel Cross Power Station in Annan. It discharged thousands of gallons of contaminated water into the Solway Firth without authorisation. The Scottish Environment Protection Agency said the radioactive content of the liquid was unlikely to have breached any limits. British Nuclear Fuels says procedures are now in place to ensure it doesn't happen again. And that's all from the newsroom for now. The next Scottish Bulletin's at 5:25 tomorrow morning. But from all of us here, good night.